So I just beat the messenger. Heads up, don't have any gameplay of my own for this, so I'm using this guy's gameplay. So shout out to that guy. But yeah, I beat the messenger. This one's gonna be pretty quick. This is one of those games that I've had in my library forever, and I've just never played it. Or maybe I played it for a little bit when I was younger, didn't really get into it, and just never touched it again. There are so many games that are like that, and this is one of them. I've always struggled with I guess it's kind of spoilers. Never mind. This game is great. The type of game this eventually turns into, without spoiling it, because it does switch things up about halfway through. I've never really been into. I mean, is it spoilers? I don't know. But this game is great. It sort of reminds me of that Shovel Knight era of indie games. You know, that the return to 2D platformers that we saw, where it I gotta admit became a little overdone. But now that we're past that, I'm able to go back and really appreciate these games. And this game is phenomenal. It has that sort of is it Ninja Gaiden on the NES? It's sort of like that, but with modern sensibilities. It's not as bullshit. It's much more smooth and refined, and it's perfect. It's very simple. You have one attack. You can sort of unlock like like a charge move, but it's not you're not pressing any different buttons and you just have to wait for it to come out. Like it's not like you're doing combos. You don't have this crazy movement. The most you have is a double jump, and stuff like that. It's very simple, and it takes that simplicity and just makes a very well refined game. This is a game you could find for super cheap. I just had it on my Switch from whenever it came out, I think 2017, 2018. And it's phenomenal. Apparently, there is a sequel in development, but there hasn't really been much said about it. I didn't really look too much into it. I sort of just looked up what the devs were up to, and it said there was something going on. So I look forward to that whenever it happens. And I do sort of want to talk about semi-spoilers. I mean, I don't know. It's not really spoilers. It's just something that the game sort of throws at you halfway through the game. So if you don't want to hear that, I definitely recommend this game. I think you can find it for like $4 on Steam. Or like I said, it's on Switch. I think it... I mean, if it's on Switch, maybe it's on PlayStation, stuff like that. But yeah, PC, Switch, you probably find it for pretty cheap. So I definitely recommend it. But getting into it, the writing is actually really funny at times. I wasn't paying too much attention, and the story itself isn't like anything crazy. But there are definitely times where the guys in the hooded the hooded guys that are sort of like a mystery for most of the game that you meet in like the shop and stuff like that. Sometimes they'll say stuff specifically midway through the game when the game sort of becomes like 16-bit, and you get like that ninja samurai type hat. He makes this comment of like, sorry, I wasn't listening. That's just such a really cool hat. And then later he puts like he has his own hat, and he's like, wow, you really like what is I think he says something like be like he accuses you of copying him or something. Just like stuff like that in between a pretty generic narrative of like, you're the chosen, you're the special ninja guy. Which isn't a bad thing, by the way. I'm just saying, like, in between that, pretty just whatever story, there are these moments where I genuinely found myself like actually laughing. So I was like, what the fuck? Like, that's really good. Like I said, they do change up the graphics. Most people just know it for, the NES style that it's going for. And that's because that's the beginning of the game where it's just level to level. And then eventually it opens up and becomes somewhat of a Metroidvania. And when I saw that, I got really worried because I've mentioned probably this a million times. I am not a Metroidvania guy. I'm really not. I'm stupid and I get lost. And unless there are waypoints and accessibility options like, you saw with the Lost Crown, Prince of Persia Lost Crown, I really struggle to find my way through them. Like I just get lost, stuff like that. But this game isn't too bad. You can ask for hints and stuff like that. And, it's not insanely expansive. And I think the map does a good job at telling you where to go, laying it out correctly. Because I think games like Metroid, at least the old ones, I haven't played Dread. I do want to play Dread. Like Metroid specifically and some of the older Castlevanias, I've tried to play them before, but they're just too cryptic, at least for my little baby new Gen Z brain. And I really struggle to get through them. But this game, I stuck through it. I had to look up maybe one or two things because I just couldn't figure it out. But I'm sure most people don't have to do that because, like I said, I don't know. There's just something about it. I think I'm getting better at it, but I need to learn how to absorb information in these type of games because sometimes it's just hard for me. Like I'll constantly be questioning myself. Like, wait, have I gone here before? Like, wait, what was I like? What did that one NPC tell me to do? Like, I don't know. I'm really bad at it. If you ever wonder who the yellow paint is for, it's for guys like me. But yeah, when the game opens up like that, I was worried, but it does a really good job. And the graphical style that it switches to, like I said, going from something like this 8-bit NES style that you see here to, I mean, actually, I can probably just skip forward, right? You can kind of see here. Right here is sort of where it opens up. This is just really pretty, more SNES style pixel art that is really pretty. Just the backgrounds and environments that you see later on in the game. I don't actually even want to show those because I think they are just so pretty and they will genuinely catch you off guard and just have you like staring at the background. Like, at least for me, like I would just sit there and be like, whoa, like Jesus Christ, this is fucking awesome. I'm taking like screenshots and shit. Yeah, it's really great. I think that's kind of all I have to say. The difficulty, I think, is really good. There are definitely a couple times where I was like, what the fuck? Because I just like am stupid and I forgot like the attack patterns. But all the bosses are relatively fair. Like I said, it may have the style of something like a Ninja Gaiden, but it definitely doesn't have that bullshit. And I really like that. There are definitely a couple bosses where I was dying like 20 times or so, just really struggling to learn their attack patterns and stuff like that. But with the very simple movement and skill set, like I said, you have literally like essentially one attack. It makes it really easy to just focus, learn the boss's patterns, and make your way through the game, even if you kind of suck at games like this. I think I'm pretty good at 2D platformers, so I wasn't throwing my controller against the wall or anything like that. It's no Blasphemous or anything like that. But I think they do difficulty really well. Right here is literally what I'm talking about. Yeah, he's like accusing him of copying him after he says it's a cool hat. Whatever. But yeah, this game's actually really good. I'm really glad I finally sat down and beat this. There are plenty of other games that I have sitting in my library that I actually need to sit down and play through. Mighty Gun Vault is one. I have like 3 of those games that I bought, when I was like, in middle school on my Switch. Because there was this period of the Switch, I think it was like 2017, 2018, where like indie games were crazy. Like what the Switch did for indie games cannot be overstated. Like it really did something like amazing for a lot of these indie games. And this was part of that era, like I said, with and plenty of other games, like I said, with like Gun Vault and what are some other ones? I mean, Shovel Knight was like Wii U, but I think a lot of people probably played it like on the Switch, stuff like that. But there are just so many games that are like that I can't think of right now. And this is part of that era. And there are so many other games that I eventually want to sit down and really work my way through. I'm pretty busy right now, and I'm going to be for the rest of this year. So having my Switch, or I also am playing through some games on my PSP right now, and just having something like a Messenger or whatever that I can just open up, play for a couple minutes, work my way through, and eventually get around to beating. Like, I think this took me around 9 hours, and it was pretty much just playing like at 30-minute intervals whenever I was free, like sitting in the car, waiting for somebody, stuff like that. And I just love that. So I definitely recommend this game. I think it's like $4 on Steam, or it was. I'm pretty sure you can find it on like CD keys or something like that. Or the Switch port is great. I played on the Switch too, but obviously with a game like this, there's not really any difference. It's just a 2D pixel game. So yeah, it was a really good time.